Once upon a time, there was a wolf and a prince. The wolf would sing alone in the forest with the prince hearing her beautiful voice, but not knowing who the singer was. One day, the prince decided to track down this voice. Upon their meeting, the wolf got scared by the prince's sudden appearance and cut his eyes with her claws, causing him to go blind. Feeling bad, the wolf turned to the witch of the forest for help. The witch agreed to help, however, it would come at a cost. The wolf agreed to these conditions and gave up her singing abilities to be able to turn into a princess. With now a human form, the princess decided to guide the prince of the witch to heal his eyes. This is the story of Liar Princess and the Blind Prince. Every year, NIS creates an indie-esque horror game. However, this year's title is not one of their usual horror titles. This one is a lot more personal than their previous entries. It is a story filled with anxiety, wanting to love, and wanting to be loved, even if it means deceiving the person you wanted to be loved from. It is a very touching and personal story between our two characters. It's short and sweet and doesn't overstay its welcome. Cutscenes are told through a very old storybook, certainly assisting in the fairy tale vibe the game insists on giving off. The music really helps here as well, as while there are only a few tracks per section of forest you're in, nothing feels old because by the time you know the ins and outs of the track, it's time to move on to the next section of the game, which means a whole new song to listen to. Each section is only 4 levels long and what is ultimately speaking a puzzle platformer. You'll be directing the prince on where to go and where to stay to help with the puzzles. Meanwhile, you can still transform into a wolf and protect him during the adventure. Overall, these puzzles are really short and can be completed in about less than 7 minutes usually. However, there is one really complicated puzzle, but the game just lets you skip that level entirely if you so wish. The overall game is really short and can be beaten in maybe 5 or so hours, and that's only if you want to go after every single collectible in the game. Aesthetically speaking, while I did say that this game isn't a horror game, it can easily be confused for one by onlookers. Really though, these monsters are sort of cute, but don't take their cuteness for granted. Some monsters have huge sharp teeth despite them being small animals themselves. Everything here just has a fantastical element to it. The forest itself just gets weirder and weirder as you go deeper into it. While I absolutely adore this game, it doesn't come without its flaws. Although the only real main flaws are that you can't skip any of the cutscenes you've already witnessed, and the other one is that the collectibles are too easy to get sometimes. Don't get me wrong, in the beginning of the game they were sort of out of the way and you actually had to think about how to get to them. But as the game progressed though, they were more and more in your face. Heck, some of them were even right next to each other, even in plain sight. To me, a collectible is something to be earned and not necessarily given. Granted, I will say that 100% this game is something to be earned, as getting the leaves and flowers in one level was pretty head-scratching. Regardless, at the end of the day, I absolutely adored everything this game had on display. Anything with a hand-holding button gets a win in my book. And the fact that the princess and the prince are visually disturbed without holding each other's hands solidifies it. As always, I love these smaller indie-like games from NIS the most, and I'll certainly be awaiting their next title. The only other slight issue this game has is that it can be a bit too simple at times. Granted, I do understand why. The prince does die from just about anything that so much as breathes on him, and I'm sure NIS didn't want to stress out players too much from it, although the final level of this game was pretty much perfect. And that does it for our review of Liar Princess and the Blind Prince. To see the written review, be sure to check out our website, gaminggamma.com. A link to that review will be provided down in the description bar below. And if you have any questions for us about this game or the review, by all means leave them down in the comment section below as well. I would love to hear from you. Also, I'd like to thank all of my patrons on Patreon for making today's review possible. And if you're new to my channel, finding me for the first time through this review, hey, be sure to subscribe for future reviews, commentaries, let's plays, and more. And as always everyone, thanks for watching.